Three, two, one.
Hello everybody, welcome to Tonight in STEM. I'm your host, Juan, in the field of science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. So today is our third episode where I will be interviewing our first Latina engineer, Beverly. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Good. Have you had a busy day?
Very crazy day, very long day, but I'm home now, so it's all good.
Awesome. So before I start and get to know Beverly a little bit more, she is a mechanical engineer, is that correct?
Yes, that's right.
With a minor in mathematics, graduated from University of Arizona.
Yep, that's right.
And then currently works at Honeywell. So not Honeywell thermostats, right? Because
No,
that's the
Honeywell.
first thing I thought of.
Everyone thinks that. Honeywell Aerospace. There's 3 different facets of Honeywell, and I work within aerospace.
Okay, awesome, exciting. Okay, so before we start interviewing Beverly Valdez, I want to say a few things. So I've gotten good feedback about Tonight in STEM. It's been really fun doing it. I just want to kind of remind everybody to like our page on Facebook. We have an Instagram account and we have a Twitter account. And then please, I guess the primary source is subscribe on YouTube. Currently on YouTube, I actually need to get a set number of subscribers before I can get a vanity URL. So I actually don't have a vanity URL, so I'm not Googleable, I guess you can say. But yes, please subscribe, and thank you for all the support. So Beverly, how did we meet?
SHPE.
SHPE. Okay, so what is SHPE? Let's start there.
So it's the Society of Hispanic Professional Engineers, and I viewed it as a support group in college. It helped me get through engineering and through a lot of tough times, and in the process I learned so much and met so many people. So I don't really know how to describe SHPE. It's a family. It's a familia. I don't know. It's a lot.
So yeah, we met through SHPE. You were the RSR?
Yeah, I was a regional student representative for Region 2.
How long ago was that?
Oh my gosh, 2011 is when I left. I started in 2010 when I left my RSR role.
Oh, look what I found. So I actually found Beverly telling us about the SHPE conference. This was back in 2011. And this conference, actually I have good memories about this conference. Actually, I have a lot of good memories about all the conferences, but this specific was my first entrepreneur panel I did. But you were RSR this time, I guess. Yeah,
and that was actually a really sweet moment because it was in Anaheim, which is where I grew up. And it was just kind of nice coming back. And I don't know, it was a good memory.
So here you were talking about your experiences and then why people should join SHPE?
Yeah.
Or go to the conference specifically?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, this is awesome. So here you talk about all your experiences. So you mentioned you grew up in Anaheim. Were you born there?
Well, technically I was born in Orange, California, but okay. We lived in Anaheim until I was 16. So halfway through high school, we moved to Arizona.
Okay. So when did you actually start to get interested in the STEM field?
Always. I loved it.
Even since a little girl?
Since a little girl.
So you're having the blocks and adding them and putting them together?
Yeah, I love math. Okay. All that stuff. We had a Windows 95. And we had a Math Blaster. I don't know if you ever played that.
I have that game. I still have it. Oh my gosh, yes.
That was it. That was my favorite game. And I don't know. I always just really liked math. I always thought it made sense. I don't know. I just always liked it growing up, to be honest.
Wow. So actually it's very... Okay, so you're actually the third person I interview, and I've only interviewed 3 guests, but that always mentions math as kind of a jumpstart into the whole STEM field. So at what point did you actually start getting serious? Were you a serious student in high school?
Yeah, I was pretty serious. All my friends growing up, too, were pretty focused on school. I don't know, I would always come home. I had a little regimen. I used to come home, do my homework, and my mom wouldn't let me go out till all my homework was done. So I I just try to be as efficient as possible. And I don't know, I just really always enjoyed it. When I got into middle school, I was really into it. High school I was super obsessed with it when we were getting into calculus and all that. And then I think I had forgotten about this memory, but I ran into somebody at the school library a month ago. And I remember that when I graduated high school, it's the nerdiest thing, but I got like math department student of the year. So I
Oh, wow,
really
okay.
I don't remember being that
Your
into
nerd
it.
cred.
Yeah, I was like really nerdy. So
Oh, okay.
I was into it.
So then, okay, this was in high school, correct?
Yeah.
And then how did your family play a role in this? I know you mentioned your mom. Did they support you doing the whole math thing? Did they push, or how were they?
So both my parents are from Mexico.
Okay.
My mom, my parents kind of met in college. So my dad was an agricultural engineer in Mexico, and my mom was like a business administration major. But then they kind of immigrated to the U.S., and unfortunately their degrees didn't transfer. So they kind of, when they moved here to the U.S., they started from scratch.
Okay.
So my dad worked like at the Jack in the Box, and my mom was taking care of me. But my dad was always really mathematically inclined.
Okay.
And so he was always really supportive. He was always there when I needed help with homework or anything like that. So they were really supportive in that way. My mom, she doesn't think she's as technically inclined as my dad, but mom's a hard worker. Like, she's
Yes.
a really, really, really hard worker. She works crazy hours, and so, I don't know, I just always learned to sacrifice and work hard, and my dad taught me to, I guess, work smart. So,
Yeah. Huh. So that's very interesting because I can definitely relate. Hardworking parents came from Mexico. Education wasn't that great, but what they could help you, and I'm curious to ask you also, is my mom could help me in the math. And she understood at least the math. I guess you can call math the universal language, but
yeah.
would you feel that they helped you in the math and couldn't help you in other languages? That's why you were kind of strong in that specific area and you kind of loved it?
Yeah, actually, now that you say that, that makes a lot of sense. I never really thought of it that way, but I think that's very true. So my parents only spoke Spanish at
Uh-huh.
home, but math is something, I guess, I don't know, right now having a little moment. But yeah, I mean,
It's
that's how I
interesting, yeah.
connected with them. That is how I guess I related what I was doing at school to how it related to them. And
Okay.
it was just something that we were both shared in common or could talk.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Yeah, I'm really thinking about it right now, and it's
That makes sense.
yeah, a lot of flashbacks. I just remember sitting at the table and like my mom would not let me go from the table until I finished my homework, and she actually corrected it. She went through it, and then she had her little moment where she would like kind of say like, okay, I understand this, like I understand this, and then unfortunately got to a point where she couldn't understand it, but
Yeah.
that was kind of heartbroken, but
Yeah, that's exactly how it was for my parents too. Because I mean, my dad, he graduated with engineering degree, but I mean, he moved here, and after a while, you forget things.
yeah.
So it got to a certain point where, like, okay, he's like, you're on your own. You got this. So I'm like, okay.
Yes. Well, that means you're going in a very good direction because you're learning more math than them and just want to get advanced in life.
Yeah.
After high school, did you go straight to the university?
Yeah, I did.
So, okay, you said you were in Anaheim. Then did you move to Arizona for the university?
No.
Okay.
So my dad's company at the time was in Santa Ana, and then they moved the company to Mexico,
Okay.
right across the border. So we moved for that reason. It was just kind of more to give us an opportunity. Living in California is so expensive. We didn't
Yes,
live
it
in the
is.
greatest neighborhood at all. I had no in high school. I didn't know if I was going to. I didn't really think that far ahead. Like if I was going to go to college, I didn't think that was something for me or something that people from my neighborhood did, type of thing. But my mentality changed a lot when I moved to Arizona. It was lower cost of living and all that stuff. So we kind of experienced a new side of life. Like it was a little different. Even when I graduated high school, I had a good GPA, but I was still like, am I going to go to college? Like, is that going to happen? Should I just apply? Should I just do it? And so I just did it, but I was nervous. I didn't know if I was going to get in. And looking back, I'm like, yeah, Bev, of course you can get in. Why are you all stressing out about it?
Huh.
So
So, through your education, did you ever feel like alone going through the process? Because okay, you're a Latina, that's a minority.
Yeah.
And then doing math, which you don't typically see that common.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I was also the oldest, and
Okay.
I had never um, seen anybody go through college in my family. Like somebody close, I'm like, oh, okay, that's how they did it, or that's how you're supposed to do it, or oh, that's feasible. I didn't kind of have a mentor or somebody look up to or anything like that. So I did feel really alone. I felt really scared. And I felt at the beginning really inadequate. I didn't know if I
Huh.
had what it took. Even there was probably no justifiable reason for me to feel that way. I always did really well in schools. I was at the top of my class and everything, but I don't know, there was always just this insecurity about, can I do it? I've never seen someone else do it. Can I do it? And so I just kind of jumped into it. And luckily, I got accepted.
Yeah.
It's good news. I got a full ride
Was that your first
scholarship.
choice? Arizona, University of Arizona?
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
Oh, well,
was it?
congratulations. That was a happy moment for you.
Yeah, it was such a relief. And then when I got the scholarship, that was an extra bonus. 'Cause I'm like, okay, I don't have to worry about
Oh, that
how
was,
I'm
yeah,
going to
huge
pay
relief.
for it. Yeah, I was like, okay, just going to take it day by day and see how far I get. So,
Yes. So then you transferred to, well, not transfer, you went into the University of Arizona. And then
mhm.
how did you start? What major did you choose there?
I started as a math major.
Okay, so yeah, makes sense. And then, so wait, you're mechanical. So at what point did you
Yeah.
transition to math? Why did you?
It's that there was no exact point. Well, I guess there was, but it was a little gray. I started out as a math major because I knew that was what I was good at.
Okay.
Um, but after my first semester, I was talking to the like graduate students or the ones that are seniors. I'm like, so how do you feel about it? What are you gonna do after this? And I don't know. No one seemed passionate or excited about it. Maybe I just talked to the wrong people. So there was just some sense of like uncertainty with it. So I'm like, okay, maybe I should step back a little bit and then just do a little more research. So I switched from being a math major to just going undecided. And I did that for about half a semester. I learned Portuguese in the meantime.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, that was fun.
Wow. Okay,
Um,
okay. To the test. How do you say hello in Portuguese? I don't know, so you could probably make something up, but
Bom dia.
Bom dia. Okay.
Yeah, it's pretty simple.
Huh.
Um,
Hey, that's a plus on your resume, right?
yeah, actually, there's a funny story about that. Anyway, I'll tell you, I can talk about it later.
Okay.
Is when I started John Deere. It was
Okay.
a
We'll
moment.
get to that.
Okay. So then they had a career fair basically at school, and I attended and I talked to the different departments, and then I talked with the different majors. So I was looking at chemical, materials, mining, mechanical, and mechanical is just the one that made the most sense to me.
Okay.
I just seemed the most practical, and it just made
It's
sense to
flexible
me.
too.
Yeah, so we like at home growing up, we always had Dremels around or just random scraps, and me and
Because
my
your dad
brother.
was an engineer, right?
Yeah,
Was he a mechanical too?
he was agricultural
Okay.
engineer. Yeah, but he was always really handy. He was always working on cars, that type of thing. So that's kind of how I got into it.
Huh. So at what point, so we talked about SHIP, the Society of Hispanic Professional Engineers. At what point did you get into that? Because it seems like SHIP was a big part of,
Huge.
yeah, of like being a mechanical engineer. And because going into math and then into engineering, how did that transition?
It was pretty smooth. I don't know why, but I think I took physics my freshman year. Just because I wanted to see what it was like, and I ended up liking it. So I had already taken some preliminary courses.
Okay.
And I had a friend in there. His name is Michael. I want to credit Michael Chin because he introduced me to SHIP. And my freshman year, he would tell me, Bev, you need to join this group named SHIP. There's a bunch of Hispanics in there. Yeah. But I kept just pushing it off. I don't know why. I think I was just
Oh,
scared. I was nervous. And then my sophomore year, I think they're having a party. SHIP was throwing a party. And I'm like, okay, fine, I'll go. And I just kind of, ever
just for
since
the
then,
party,
that's how it started. I know people have that pizza, like the free pizza story. I
Yeah.
have there was a party on a
The
Friday.
party.
But yeah, it all started. I saw how everyone was just so laid back and easygoing. Like I hadn't found a group of people in college like that yet. That was just so easy to talk to, and just they were all really honest and they were all really motivated and driven. And yeah, they were out here on a Friday night having fun, but they were already talking about studying on Sunday together and all these things. So I'm like, okay,
So you can
this is
kind
good.
of assimilate to these individuals, and you know their focus, the same kind of goals you had.
Exactly.
Okay.
I just felt immediately I felt at home. I hadn't talked to these people or met them formally yet or anything, but I just felt home, like, wow, this feels really good. And I was just elated. I was so happy. I was on a cloud, and I don't know, I just rode that cloud all through college. It was awesome.
So yeah, it seems like you really got involved in SHPE because I'm showing right here you were part of the board in 2010, 2011.
Yep.
I have a picture of you.
Nice. I was
Oh,
exec VP.
okay.
That was an awesome year. Yeah, that was, I think, I
You're a
joined.
senior?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this is towards the end. Did you know at this point what you wanted to do?
As far as my major?
Just in general, like your goals, where you want to land with the job, with specific fields.
A little bit, yeah. I mean, and that was only really through SHPE because I think I had gone to the conference the year before,
Uh-huh.
and that just exposed me a lot to what it really meant to be an engineer. So, yeah, at that point I had a vague idea. I know I wanted to work right after college, but I was still trying to figure out the
PhD,
details.
master wasn't anything.
Not at that point, no.
Okay.
Now I do. Now I want to go back for my master's. That's kind of my next goal,
goal.
personal goal.
So how did you transition into the workforce? So we should say your first job out of college was John Deere, correct?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I actually do have their website here. So you can tell us about that. What was your job there?
So I was part of a rotational program, essentially, and I did different things. I worked as a quality engineer on the manufacturing floor, and I implemented some, like, projects throughout the facility, like rust proofing processes, those type of things. Then I worked at the corporate headquarters for John Deere, and I worked on Six Sigma projects. So that was all this was really new to me. I was a mechanical engineer. I didn't take any classes on lean manufacturing or cell layouts or things like that. So it was really different. But it was great. Yeah, it was great. But
So how
it was
did
a
you?
transition.
Yeah. So how did you figure out how to like navigate inside John Deere? Because from my experience, you're out of college, no experience. You've learned all these things, and honestly, I've only applied maybe like 10-20% of what I learned in college to the job force. Can you tell us about that? Like how did it feel? How did you navigate through this?
It was a little scary. It was a little daunting at first. You're working for this huge corporate company. I don't know, it was kind of scary. Luckily, I had a mentor right away. Her name was Moni. She was also a woman. And we spoke really candidly about everything. And she was working at headquarters. She was reporting to a director at the time. So she had gone through a lot in the past 20 years. She's like, you know what? I'll be here for any questions you have. This is kind of how a Fortune 500 company works and
Correct.
those type of things. So she gave me a lot of tips and tricks that you don't always learn. So
being paired with a female engineer really helped you give you more confidence in navigating.
yeah, for
Huh.
sure.
So can you tell us more about some of the products? Here I have some of the tractors. Did you work on any of these? I know you were saying quality assurance on the manufacturing line, but
Yeah, so these are combines. There's two big. There's the actual combine itself, which drives through the field, and then there's header equipment. So I worked for the header equipment line. So depending on when you want to harvest, if it's wheat or cotton or corn is our most popular seller, or one of our most popular seller, you would change the header piece of that equipment.
okay.
And these things are huge. They're like, I don't even know, 3 Beverly stacked on top of
That's a
Yeah.
great.
So
Did you ever go out on the field, or were you always inside within John Deere?
I was on the factory floor a lot. So essentially I saw it from being scrap metal all the way to when we
wow.
turn it on for the first time, and then the headers lift up and start rolling, and you just see this beast going at it. And I got to drive one a couple times, so that was
Oh,
kinda
okay.
cool.
How's that?
It was awesome. It was kind of scary. I'm like, you guys are really trusting me with this, but I mean, I was fine. Those things kind of run themselves, so
Okay.
it
That's
was really
awesome.
cool.
So how long were you at John Deere before you transitioned?
2 years.
2 years. Okay.
It
Um, and then I guess why did you transition? You transitioned to Honeywell, like we mentioned, not the thermostat. Well,
Nothing.
they are thermostat, but more on the aerospace. I'm so stuck on that. I don't know why. I just see Honeywell on a
No,
thermostat
it's
always.
okay. My mentor, like when I told her that was the most awkward conversation too, that I was going to Honeywell, she's like, "A thermostat company?" I'm like, "Well, yes, they make thermostats, but their big business is aerospace." Um, I'm sorry. Can you repeat the question again, Juan?
Yeah. So how did you? Hey, we got stuck on thermostats. It's okay.
It's okay.
How was that transition from John Deere to Honeywell? How did you know you wanted to move? Because I always hear that the first maybe a couple years at your first company lays out the kind of the your groundwork to what you'll be doing.
Yeah.
Was it scary? How did that happen?
Yeah, it was really scary. So I was really blessed when I was at John Deere. I was performing really well. I had a really strong career path. I loved what I was doing. Um, in those 2 years, I learned a lot about the company. I understood how it functioned. I worked at 4 different sites. So I learned so much about John Deere. I cared about it so much, and it just really immersed me into a different culture that I had never been exposed to before. These people, they grew up on farms and they grew up with the John Deere tractor, and I don't know, it was just something really to be really proud of. I was really, really proud to work for John Deere and representing them and working hard, and I had made all my connections throughout the company. So I love my job. The only thing was I was just so far from family. And I think I know that's what it was. I was living in Iowa. I'd work, 8 to 10 hours a day, and that was awesome. And I enjoyed my time there. But then I'd come home, and it's just me. I don't have my boyfriend. I don't have my family. I don't have my friends from college. I just felt really alone.
Hmm.
And I think that was really hard for me. It was really, really hard for me. And it was really a battle that I struggled with internally for a long time, for the first year that I was there. Like, what should I do? I mean, I know I have a bright future here, and, I sacrificed so much in college, and I kind of I feel like I made it in a sense. What do I do? This is kind of risky, but I
You felt a
really,
lot of
really wanted to
pressure.
go home. What is that?
Did you feel a lot of pressure from the company? Because yeah, I guess you
Yeah,
knew inside and out.
yeah.
And
So I felt a lot of pressure because I felt like they invested a lot in me, and my mentors invested a lot in me. So it was a strong sense of guilt, to be honest.
yeah, I would
I felt
imagine.
guilty. I just felt so guilty, and I don't know if that's a cultural thing, because I don't see that some people just they can separate themselves, their personal
Correct.
selves from
Yeah.
the company they work for. But I had a strong sense of loyalty, so it was really hard for me. So I kind of sat on it for a long time, for a year. And one day I told my mentor, I was really honest with her. I'm like, I'm thinking about, you know, possibly leaving the company to be closer to home. Um, and at that point, they tried to almost accommodate me. So they didn't have any
Oh
facilities
wow.
in Arizona. They're like, well, we could have a position like this where you can work with dealers in Arizona. So I'm like, okay. And then again, I'm in another stepping stone. I'm like, okay. But at that point, I would be doing something I don't want to do. But
Oh
I'd
okay.
still be with John Deere and I'd be closer to home. So then it was another mental struggle of what's the right thing for me to do. You know, I want to be with a company that I care about, that I respect, that I can be with a long time. But I also want to be, I want to be happy in my personal life. I want to be closer to my family. To me, that's important. Some people don't need that. I don't know if it's just because I'm the oldest one or what. But so
Correct.
yeah, so I think about 8 months before I actually left, I told my mentor that I was making the decision of leaving the company. And so I still had a contract out for 2 years, so they kind of supported me along the way, and I was still performing high and everything. So, but in that time, I got an offer from Honeywell Aerospace,
Oh,
which is in Tucson, Arizona, and it's where I went to school. It's at the university, right by the University of Arizona.
okay. How
But
was that transition? In this year, 2015 or
yeah, end of last year.
last year? Okay.
Yeah, so my last day with John Deere, I think, was that mid-December, something like that.
And then so how did you handle? Because yeah, I guess you lose all your connections. You know
Yeah,
your way around, and now into a new company. How does that feel? How?
I thought it was going to be a lot scarier than it was, but I just learned that everything I learned up until that point is, I mean, all those soft skills that you learned, that I learned at Deere and that I learned in college, that I learned through SHIP, those kind of are just almost a part of you. So as long as you're motivated and passionate and thankful and, kind of know some tips and tricks of how to move along, you'll be fine. And I found myself to transition just fine in Honeywell,
And
so
you were happy. You're back closer to your family, your boyfriend, and everything
it was the
else.
best thing. Yeah, it was just so happy. So to me, I get to come home, and on the weekends I can visit my family. Whereas before, I'd have to plan months ahead to go spend a 3-day weekend to come to Arizona. Now it's like I can actually use vacation days for vacation.
Wow.
So
Okay.
it was a really hard time in my life. But and I mean, I know I made the best decision, and I was really proud of myself once it
That's
was all
awesome.
over. Yeah, I
That's
was really
awesome.
honest, and it was hard, but it was the right decision for me.
Well, now you're at Honeywell,
Yeah,
um, and Honeywell Aerospace, to be clear. Um, so what do you do at Honeywell?
I'm a customer quality engineer. So basically, I have different clients.
Okay.
So I have Bombardier. Airbus is my biggest client right now. And
Oh,
I just work with them with any issues they're having, any product related issues. I perform root cause analysis, those type of things.
so I have a little Airbus video. This is the
Yeah,
A350XW. Is this
that's our
something you're
program.
working on, or?
Yeah. So that's a program that's currently going from development into production. So we're at the beginning stages, and I started in January, so I came just in time to help transition that
Yeah.
program over.
So does Honeywell make the actual plane, or do they make specific parts, or how does that work?
We make certain components.
Okay.
So we make engine control units. We make cabin pressure control systems. We make generators. So for A350, I don't know how much information I'm allowed to give, but we don't make all those components for A350. We make certain ones.
Okay. Huh. This sounds really, really cool. So I imagine the customer always on site. How often do you deal with them?
Actually, just had a meeting yesterday. They were on site yesterday. They come probably once a month. I talk with them regularly, at least 5 times a week. We're just in constant communication. Yesterday we had like an industrial review with them, and we kind of discussed the status of the project, and went out to dinner and that type of thing. So,
Okay, so actually I have a question about that.
mhm.
Because you did mention you were gonna have dinner with the customer. How is that? How is that different from having a dinner with a friend? Like, what professional aspect do you bring? How do you handle certain situations? Because that's all new to me, and it's
Yeah.
really interesting. Like, okay, yeah, it makes sense. Okay, you take out your customer to dinner, you treat them well, but are there certain, I guess, norms that we, as professional, you have to follow?
It was my first time taking a customer out to dinner, so I don't know. I usually kind of let them set the conversation and see
Okay.
what they're comfortable talking about. If they like joking around a little bit, okay, then I'll open up a little bit more.
Yeah.
And I try not to talk about work as much during dinner, just because we already talked about it all day.
That makes
They know
sense.
everything they need to know. So at that point, we're just eating, and like, where'd you grow up? Where are you from? Okay, what did you study? Just basically the same
Casual
conversation
talk.
we're having right now. Yeah. So that type of conversation. It's never everything that heavy at dinner, and it's not like I'm closing a deal or anything. It's just
Correct, correct. Yes.
there's no pressure that I have to
Yes. Well,
hit
it's just good to
anything.
know, like, how
Yeah.
it is. Here's another question for you. And you don't have to answer if it's too intimate, but when I was an intern at J2 Global,
Hmm.
they took us out for dinner and actually discussing kind of like I wouldn't call it ethics, but the things you
Etiquette.
should do as a professional dinner. And one of the thing is paying the bill. That's always an issue. Like, who pays the bill? And I remember telling the president, the CEO, actually took us for dinner. The CEO saying, the highest paid person, highest person up in command pays the bill. And then, because he was the CEO, he was the highest person, I just passed it over to my CFO, and she handles that. But any feedback on that?
I don't know. Sometimes it's kind of,
Like,
it depends. Yeah, because companies have these rules, and they make you watch all these like HR videos on how you shouldn't be gifting things over $75 or something like that. So usually I'll just offer to pay, and then if they feel uncomfortable, I'm like, okay, then I'll pay for myself, type of thing. But you're right, it's kind of awkward.
Yeah, it is weird. It's always, I found myself in all situations like that. And I guess, yeah, really thinking about it, more than, say, 75%, we just do 50-50. You pay for your stuff and I pay for my stuff, kind of thing.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So is there anything else about Honeywell you would like to add?
I don't know. It's just really different. It's very different from John Deere, because it's aerospace and it's a lot more regulated. So it's different. It's a different set of rules. Quality plays a different role within aerospace because it's so regulated. You're almost like the sheriff. So you have to be really assertive and, just
Very
kind of.
detail oriented, I imagine, also, and
What was that?
very detail oriented.
Yes. Yeah, you have to follow things. It's black and white. You have to follow the book, and you have to make sure other people follow the book, and we're following our processes. And so it's a lot different than it was in the agricultural machinery industry. There's just a lot more regulated, which for me, I personally love a lot. I like being able to reference, here's
Like a process.
Yeah, like, be able to point you on a piece of paper where it says what you have to do. So,
And I guess that's the mindset as STEM majors. We have a lot of facts. We can understand those facts, and if we have a process, we can reproduce and have the same exact results. Well, in theory.
Yeah, in theory. In theory.
Yes, there's always little things like that. So what are your future plans? Do you have any goals you'd like to share with us? What do you have in mind?
My next big goal is just getting my master's.
Okay.
So I just started at Honeywell, and I have to be there for a little bit more before I get sponsored for my master's, but that's kind of my plan.
Okay.
That's my next plan. I'd like to actually get an industrial engineering master's.
So at AU? University of Arizona, sorry about that.
Yes. Okay. Yeah, University of Arizona.
Okay.
So that's my next big plan.
And so does the company pay, or?
Yeah, they pay for up to a certain amount.
Okay.
But I just started 6 months ago, so I think I have to be here at least a year.
Okay.
So I don't know. I kind of letting my manager know that that's kind of where I want to go with my career, and he's pretty supportive, and he thinks it's a great idea. So
Hey, that's awesome.
that's my next big goal.
Awesome.
And now that I'm back in Tucson, obviously just be more involved with the SHPE Southern Arizona chapter for sure. So
Well,
it's gonna be awesome. It's gonna be just like college again, but now with more money. Like
yes,
all my
I
shippers
totally can relate to that.
Yeah, it's gonna be so cool. A lot of the people that I was in SHPE with already graduated. They have jobs. They work in the area. So
It's different now. Now we're adults. Now we have to actually manage money instead of time. I guess you still have to manage time, but
yeah, but it's money.
yes. So I guess any tips you have for maybe individuals who are thinking of majoring in the STEM field, specifically maybe mechanical engineering, some things you recommend them do. I know you mentioned finding a mentor was key.
Yeah.
Any other tips?
I think the big tip. I mean, I'm not just gonna say join SHPE, but join a group or find a group, no matter how big or how small, that you that you can work with, or as almost as a support group. The STEM fields are hard. I'm not gonna lie. For me, engineering was very hard. It was very difficult, but it helped me to find a group of individuals that I related with, that I could be really honest with, that I could say, hey, today was a really bad day and Dr. Calc was terrible, and just be really honest with it.
Yeah, true.
Engineering's hard because you're in a group full of engineers. We can be kind of full of ourselves. We think we know everything, and in a sense, we have to a lot of times give this illusion that we have everything under control, we have everything figured out, and we don't ever screw up. And I got that sense a lot in my classroom. Everyone knew the answers to everything, and later I realized they really didn't. So it was kind of nice to have that group that I could just be honest with, and we kind of went through things together, and they were there emotionally for me, and they were there for me academically, and it was great for me. So I would just recommend put yourself out there, put yourself in uncomfortable situations because they don't stop. I've been in so many uncomfortable situations, but you just grow so much more. So that's my biggest tip, is just find a group on campus or even outside of campus that you can kind of lean on. You guys can lean on each other. So that's my college tip.
So thank you for that. You did mention uncomfortable situation. I just remembered you were going to tell us that story about John Deere and
Oh, yeah.
So I'm not going to let you off the hook, so you have to tell that now.
Okay. So I had just started at John Deere, and it was on my resume that I spoke fluent Spanish, and I was conversational in Portuguese. That's what it said. And I was part of this pilot program at John Deere. So my first week that I was there, they had all the directors of North America in one room, and they had a slide of me up there, and it just said I had my picture and like Beverly major in mechanical engineering and minored in mathematics, and that I was conversational Portuguese. I'm like, oh, everyone thought that was kind of cool. Oh, she's bilingual in Spanish. That's pretty cool. So then it's lunchtime, and we're serving each other food, and one of the directors is actually from Brazil, and he spoke Brazilian Portuguese. And I didn't know this at the time, so he starts speaking to me in Portuguese, and I understand him, and I can keep up with him, right? Like, just the hellos, how are you doing,
Yes.
What's your name? But then he got too deep, and then he just started going, and I'm like, eu não posso falar mais. Like, that's it. I can't speak. So that was kind of like, hey, maybe I should, if I can't speak it fluently, maybe I should just take it off because I don't want to be put in that situation.
Yes.
But he took it in stride, and he purposely did that to make me feel uncomfortable. And he's like, I was just kidding. And he started speaking in English. I'm like, okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah. So yeah.
I kind of feel like you would talk in Portuguese, and then you could, like, if you want to make the other person feel bad, just start talking a random language. That'd be hilarious.
Now I just want to learn another language so I can do that.
Hey, you know math. It's a language, Spanish, English, and now Portuguese, right?
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
now we're gonna go into our professional, maybe tip, trick, hack of the week. I'm gonna give it off to Beverly, and this tip she told me ahead of time, and I'm gonna start implement this right away because I think this is an awesome tip. So Beverly,
okay.
the floor is yours.
Thank you, Juan. So I work on a lot of projects. A lot of the time I work with a lot of project engineers, project leads, program managers, that type of thing. And I also have a lot of projects of myself that I'm accountable for executing for my department. So that usually requires a lot of cross-functional help. I have to reach out to people in different departments to get information or their support or their input or their deliverables. So I'm asking for a lot of time out of their day, and a lot of times they help me, or most of the time they help me. So of course I always say thank you. I give them a thank you letter, and that's great. But the one extra thing that I do that I've noticed made a difference is, aside from that, I write a letter or an email to their manager, letting them know that they helped me on so-and-so project, that help with so-and-so metric, that's going to help benefit the company. And that's just a good way to build repertoire within your company. It lets people know that you appreciate the effort they put into it, and they know that next time that they help you or do a favor for you, that they're going to get appreciated it appreciated or their boss will know. So it just makes it easier for people to want to work with you.
I that is an awesome tip, and I still can't get over the fact, like, why didn't I think of that? It seems like common sense. You're grateful, you're thankful, and you let their boss know, hey, this person really helped me get my job done, made it my job kind of better. So that's awesome. Thank you, Beverly, for that.
Oh, you got it.
So I guess my tip. So recently I had a friend call me up. He was preparing for an not an on-site interview, but over the phone interview. And one of the things I talked to him about was how you can kind of transmit all that energy, that excitement through the phone. And I remembered a long time I was told to smile, even though you might not be in that kind of cheerful mode. Just smile, because that smile, even though they can't see it or they can't hear it or they can feel it, you kind of transmit it in your voice. I've had so many times where it's like the conversation is kind of dull and stuff, but I guarantee you, put in a smile, and you might be talking weird on the other side of the phone, but hey, they can't see you. Just project that smile through, and this energy just projects through the phone, and they will hear an excitement, which is key, what you want, because you want to get that job, you want to get hired, you want to let that interviewer know that, hey, I'm the person for the job, I'm gonna have fun, and I love doing what I'm doing. So that's just a little tip. And I guess, Beverly, I really just want to thank you for your time. I know you're busy, but it was fun hearing you, and just thank you for your time.
Oh, thank you so much, Juan, for having me. And I just want to say, I think Tonight in STEM is awesome, and I hope you get all the subscribers you need. And, let's promote this. I think
Well, thank you very much. I think with that said, I think we're going to be wrapping up. I just want to remind everybody to please follow us and subscribe on YouTube. Also like us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Thank you, everybody. Stay tuned for next week. Tonight in STEM.